When I decided to take a road trip to Louisiana, there's three things I wanted to see: alligators, plantations, and beignets. So me and Zoe spent a week exploring everything we could find in this state. We went from Baton Rouge to the Jungle Gardens, we saw a sunset at Oak Alley, and we got rained on in New Orleans. We ate the food, we saw the art, we met the people, and we slept in the tiny homes. This is just a story of our road trip, once upon a time in Louisiana. It's a little more complicated than just three things I wanted to do in Louisiana. I heard about this place called Oak Alley Plantation, and I just knew I had to go there. And then of course I had the French Quarter in New Orleans, I wanted to take a riverboat down the Mississippi, and I wanted to ride an airboat through the swamp. As for food, there's a few things I was going to be on the lookout for. My hairdresser is originally from Louisiana, and she said that there's four things that I had to try: jambalaya, gumbo, muffalata, and beignets. And if you don't know what any of those things are, that's fine, because neither did I. Also, her suggestion was this place called Pat's, so that was our first stop for a late dinner. One of the first things I noticed in Louisiana was the number of stray cats just hanging around. There were at least 3 of them on our first stop, but that's okay because I love cats.
Is this the place?
Yeah, go in there.
To eat?
Yeah, go in there. So this place was pretty weird on the inside, but it perfectly fit that swampy bayou atmosphere, and the people spoke with an accent I've never heard before. What is it?
Alligator bites.
I don't know if you've ever had alligator before. It's a lot like chicken, but better chicken.
What does it taste like, Zoe?
Chicken. That's a good angle.
So about 20 minutes away was our stay for the first night. It was in this small neighborhood at this place called the Cajun Cabin.
This is really cool.
This place is what every Airbnb wants to be. It was pretty much the perfect tiny home. Personality and charm just flooding out of every corner. Wall art, cassettes, there was a guitar in the ceiling. And it really showed me how much more interesting your travels can be if you actually take the time to look for the hidden gems.
Seriously?
Zoe, what are we doing?
We're getting ready to leave. You're sitting on the couch.
The next morning, we slipped out of the Cajun Cabin. We passed through small town Arnaudville and then to Baton Rouge. Spanish moss, but it's not actually Spanish or moss at all. Now, Baton Rouge is actually a much more modern city than I was expecting. Glass buildings and modern architecture, except for the old Capitol building, which looks like a castle. Zoe has this weird thing where she always wants me to take pictures of her in weird places doing dance poses.
Hey, I want you to chill like a dude and I can take a picture of you.
We stopped into a downtown cafe, and I realized I had no idea what cold smoked meat was until I thought I was about to eat a raw salmon bagel. We actually had some time to kill before check-in at Oak Alley, and there was another plantation on my list of places to go called the Laura Plantation. I didn't know anything about it going in except that it was $25 a person and that the tour started in 2 minutes.
A couple things before we do head on out, y'all. This tour is fully guided. You are going to stay with me the entire time. You can take as many photos as you want. The only thing, though, is we don't allow any kind of recording.
But that's okay, because I took a lot of pictures. The Laura was a Creole plantation, so its French heritage gives it a unique look. Where with an English house you would see tall white columns, here we saw an elevated house painted with yellow, blue, and red. So we walked up underneath the front porch, into this old basement filled with disintegrating brick walls. The Laura was a sugarcane plantation among dozens of others along the Mississippi. It was owned by this French guy named Duparc, and it was given to him by President Jefferson himself. So Laura was actually a descendant of that Duparc guy, and according to stories, she was considerably cruel. Up inside the house, I was mostly intrigued by the interesting decorating choices. And there was even this wood fireplace painted to look like marble to give off the appearance of wealth. And I found another cat chilling on the back porch. The entire house was built without using any nails, instead with interlocking planks of wood. I think it was an old artisan technique brought over by the African slaves. We walked through the fields and around the old houses. We saw these giant sugar pots with lily pads in them. And then we stopped in this shed with carpenter bees flying everywhere. So the number of people that died here is officially listed to be around 200, but the actual number is a lot closer to 400. Our last stop was the slave houses. And you can probably imagine what these looked like. Small, tight rooms, wooden beds, and tools and pots. This was actually the place where the Brer Rabbit folktale was passed down through generations of slaves, and it only survived by word of mouth, probably told between many families in a room just like this. But now we were on our way to see the coolest place in Louisiana. Everywhere you go in this state, you'll see a painting of this on the wall. They're really proud of it. And it is the reason I wanted to go on this road trip. It's pretty much the ideal Anglo-Southern antebellum mansion. 28 large white Doric columns and 28 great oak trees. These can live up to 1,000 years, and they each have a name. So our cabin was just a few steps from the alley itself. This was probably my favorite day of the entire trip. I chased a lizard and finally talked Zoe into filming it. Isn't he beautiful? I threw a little towel at the wall and he came running down and I grabbed him. You know, I do remember feeling unusually at peace spending time around the oak trees that evening. It was a pretty peaceful golden hour. And something about trees that big feels strangely nostalgic. And it wasn't just an alley of oak trees either. The entire property was stunning from every angle. So after hitting all the previous destinations on the way here, this is the day we would finally get to go to New Orleans. I had a lot of expectations about this place, from stories I've heard, from planning the trip, but I feel like most of Zoe's expectations were based on this movie. From a distance, it looks exactly like I expected, a cluster of tall gray towers. But everyone knows the reason people come to New Orleans is for the French Quarter. But right now, we were in a hurry to get to the river port. A ride down the Mississippi in a paddle wheel steamboat was kind of a late addition to the trip. But now I can't imagine going to New Orleans and not doing it. You can order a drink and enjoy the music, or you can even explore the boat and get catfish for lunch. Now, most people hang out on the top floor where the band is, but I have never heard a guy jamming on a piano as hard as this guy on the second floor. Dude was playing with his eyes closed and never hit a single bad note. And this guy was actually right next to the gift shop, and I love gift shops. I have this thing where I like to buy at least one unique item from every trip I go on. This time I went with a bubblegram of the Natchez.
Run to the benches. Also in the same area, the donning and adjusting room like that.
All right, folks, take your time now, but hurry up.
For our night in New Orleans, I picked the old number 77. It's an old warehouse in the downtown art district, and it definitely had a lot of art. Looking at it does make you feel classy, but sometimes it also makes you wonder what was going on in their head. This sink has the most steady, satisfying stream of water I've ever seen. Oh yeah, there was also this dining room with a disco ball in it, and I really wanted to go in there, but it was always closed, so we had to find somewhere else to eat dinner.
It's a folk bread.
Zoe wanted us to dine in, and it's gonna be dark out by the time we're done, and we're gonna get killed. Okay, here's the thing. Every person that I asked about New Orleans said that if I went there, I was gonna get robbed. It didn't change my mind, but I had a list of things not to do, like not go walking in the street at night.
We're walking back to the hotel. At night.
The next morning, we took a walk over to the French Quarter. We went inside this tiny store because it looked interesting, and the back door opened up into this huge vertical mall. And there was where we found a food court and a muffalata. What you eating there, Zoe?
Muffalata?
What's that?
Muffalata?
Close enough.
By now, the rain was coming down pretty heavy in the city, and maybe I'm weird, but I kind of preferred it that way. I always pictured New Orleans as a rainy, gray city. There was plenty of weird stuff there. We walked down so many streets I lost track of where we were. I remember the decorative French buildings and the colorful stores, and there were plenty of tourist shops, of course. They had a lot of these tiny art vignettes of iconic places in New Orleans. After the stores, we slipped through the famous Pirate Alley, and then into the St. Louis Cathedral next door. Now, I've never been inside a church this big, so we sat down for a while and soaked up the relaxing ambience, the Gregorian chanting, the Christian art, and the remarkably beautiful chocolatey-looking wood structures. Outside across Jackson Square, we ran through the rain some more and into the universally popular Café du Monde, where we were certainly obligated to order some beignets. Now, these were on my list of foods to try, of course, but I was a little surprised because they were identical to something that we Oklahomans call funnel cake. Is it a good beignet or not as good?
It's good. It's really hot.
Zoe burned her tongue on it, and she couldn't taste anything for the rest of the trip. So the Dansereau House is an old mansion that was built before the Civil War, but it was turned into a bed and breakfast by a state representative a few years ago. It was in this small town called Thibodaux, and it was a nice enough place, but it's apparently not a great place to find restaurants that are actually open when they say they're open.
This stupid place is closed.
Can we go to 7?
And look how short the roof is. Look how short the roof is. Like, that's shorter than her. Yeah, that's like a 5-foot roof.
To be fair, this was like the third restaurant in a row that lied to us. So we resorted to Chili's takeout for the hotel room. Zoe, how long have we been watching alligator videos?
But can you tell me what happened?
10 minutes?
Where is my little
While we're waiting on our food?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, by this point I was pretty bummed out that I didn't get to see any alligators. My airboat reservation got rained out twice in a row, and it just wasn't meant to be.
That's so cute. You look so cute.
We checked out of the Dansereau house and had a cake ball at the Weeping Willow Cafe.
Green eggs and ham. Lumberjack.
April showers in the month of May.
Zobug.
The ground's still wet and the sky's still gray, but you're still shining. No cadences or chords to play, no melodies or words to say, but you're still singing, and it keeps me breathing.
So next on the food list was gumbo, which I'd never heard of before, and I'm gonna be honest, I didn't really like it. It was kind of just brown soup with crawfish. Those stuffed mushrooms, on the other hand, did live up to their reputation.
These are the stuffed mushrooms. And Zoe doesn't want to eat any of the stuffed mushrooms. Do you, honey?
Now this part is really stupid, and I don't even know if I'm gonna leave it in, but we went to the mall in Lake Charles, and I had to find something to bring my friends back home, so I thought, what's cheap and funny, and you can buy a lot of them at once?
You really went and told me to try them on, and I was like, I wasn't done looking.
I didn't do anything.
And then
But-
you were talking about how
Hey Zoe, what did I buy at Spencer's?
whistle dicks.
Technically they're called pecker whistles.
Our last night in Louisiana was at the Red Shoes RV Park. They had a giant neighborhood of 100 of these mobile home hotels that they called chalets, or chalets, I don't know. For me, this was a pretty cute, relaxing place, but Zoe stepped inside with her sensitive nose and said, "This place smells like weed smoke." We had our last dinner in Louisiana at this good old catfish place with huge bags of peanuts. And then even on the way out, they ask you, "Hey, do you want to take a bag of peanuts?" So we passed through Lake Charles, which was a really stylish town with great calamari, and then through Sulphur, which is basically just a large industrial park as far as you can see. Going further south, I remember it as a flat expanse of grass and bogs. Then, after reaching the Gulf at Holly Beach, we took the road west towards Texas. This road trip through Louisiana was really something great for me, and it's definitely my favorite one so far. You know, I think there's this feeling as an American that to get an exotic vacation, you have to run off to another country, but there's so much to see in the States. And people would always ask me, why are you going to Louisiana? There's so much I could have missed if I didn't come here. You know, there's all different kinds of places and themes for a vacation, and I just fell in love with this rainy, swampy, southern 19th century road trip. So I thought I would end it here because at this point we were in Galveston and not Louisiana anymore, but this was actually the place I found the last food on my list. That and the third floor loft was pretty amazing. Definitely another great Airbnb find, with the coolest bathroom I've ever seen. And if you've watched this all the way to the end, then I just hope you've enjoyed experiencing my road trip once upon a time in Louisiana.
This couch is ugly. Look.
That's an ugly couch.